Good Monday morning, my peeps. This is Adrienne Talks, and I'm so excited to have a fellow client care lover with me today. So, Tammy, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to my guest.
Wonderful. So, hi, Adrienne, and hello, everybody listening. My name is Tammy Tosti. I've worked in direct sales for 15 years. Adrienne and I are blessed to work for the same company, Tastefully Simple. I live in Pennsylvania with my husband, our two daughters, and a dog, and I do this full time. And I also run a free Facebook group about client care called Cultivating Client Connections. So, this is a passion subject for me. So, I'm so excited to talk to you about it today.
I know, I love it too. I just feel like it's such a big part of our business that sometimes gets overlooked, right? We talk a lot about, products or the party, but it's a lot about those relationships that we create and keeping them. And I love so many tips that you have. I follow you there, and you and I talk all the time. But just all the different things that you do to make sure that your clients are taken care of, and you're doing it in a way that they appreciate, right? So I would love for you to share a few of those with everybody, just because I think it's so important for us to really come at our clients from their point of view, right? Like what they need from us instead of what we need from them.
Sure. Well, here's the great thing, guys. I feel like once you get a handle on client care and you commit to it, your sales can increase without you stepping out the door more. And that might be attractive to most of you. It certainly is for me. So as I've tracked my sales specifically over the last 6 years, they keep increasing 5 to 10%, but I'm not leaving the house more. It's just that I'm doing a better job serving my clients the way they want to be served, which primarily is contacting them the way they want to be contacted. So establishing, hey, do you want to keep in touch by following my Facebook business page? Would you prefer 2 emails a month that I create and send out? And do you want to keep in touch at all? Like sometimes, I'm sure, Adrienne, you've had these people as well. It's a one-time purchase. They really don't want to keep in touch. They just went to that party to support their friend. If you can establish that off the beginning when you first meet them, you start building the stones that will lead to a good foundation of a long-term relationship, which is what I'm after in this business. I love the clients that come back month after month, year after year, and know me as their consultant.
That's such a great point too, because I really find that, so many people are like, no, but I want to follow up with them. And I'm like, if somebody doesn't want to be followed up with, I've now changed my mindset to make that a good thing, in the sense of like, I don't want to spend time sending you emails or texting you or calling you if you don't even want to hear from me. If you just bought because it was your daughter or your niece, or you were at the party and you just wanted to get one thing and you have no desire. I mean, that's a waste of everyone's time, right? Yours and theirs. So it's such a beautiful thing that you're setting that standard right ahead of time of like, what do you want from me so that I can help you, but also like you're not going to waste your time or their time, right?
Absolutely. One of the ways that you guys can do that, and I've always done in my 15 years, is when people order from you, doesn't matter who it is, every single person I call to say thank you for that order, whether I met them at a party or it was an online order. And I call to say thank you and to check to make sure they got their order. That's just something I've always done. Is it time consuming? A little bit, but I just consider it good for my business. So here's an example. So I had a customer order this month from a party that she did not attend. I did not meet her. She placed a nice order and I called. We had a lovely chat. She was one of those great people that picked up the phone, and I asked her how she wanted to keep in touch, got her connected to my Facebook business page, chatted a little bit about her experience with Tastefully Simple, and she contacted me a week later and placed another large order because I had reached out and I think and introduced myself and started that friendship and relationship that will serve her going forward. So just by taking a few minutes to do some personal outreach, you really can go far, sales wise, and I think relationship wise.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. I've told this story so many times on the podcast and stuff, is that I think of all the people I bought from in direct sales, right? Because I love supporting direct sales. You know it. It's just my favorite thing. I have gotten 2 phone calls ever asking me if I like what I got and if everything was okay. And I'm like you, Tammy, I always follow up, make sure people got their order and everything was okay, because I've also had where something wasn't okay, but they weren't going to contact me because they're like, "Oh, I don't want to bother you." What? You're not bothering me. I'm going to help take care of you. Like, I want to make sure everything's okay. So I think it's twofold, right? Like, you're introducing yourself and creating that relationship, but also like if you're giving a product, you want to make sure that they got what they wanted and it was all good to go, right? So that they're not sitting there going, oh, well, I didn't get, and you think they call you, but they don't always. They don't always tell you that something's wrong until you connect with them, right?
Absolutely. You could be, that call could be the reason they find their box. Like maybe UPS or the post office put it somewhere that they didn't find. I had that happen last week where it was dropped off at a, not at a usual stop. So by that phone call, it alerted the customer, oh, I guess I need to check for it. I think the other thing we're doing, Adrienne, is we're heading off those customers who maybe are a little bit more touchy. They maybe have a package that arrives or something's damaged. And if you don't resolve that quickly, you're going to leave a bad taste in their mouth about you and about your company. So let's just head that off. Let's just make sure they got it. Let's just address it right away so that they don't even remember that the next time they think about your company and your product line. Just gone.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's such a good point. And then you get the other ones, like you said, that are just like, oh, it's so great to hear from you. That's wonderful. Everything's great. And then you can find other ways to connect with them. So there's so many things that can happen from that one little phone call, right?
absolutely. Sure. Let's go further on that. So I had a party this weekend that canceled, actually rescheduled to later this week, which is unusual in my business, but there was a funeral that had come up last minute. So we rescheduled it. And for some people in this industry, they might have a free Sunday afternoon and think, yeah, this is awesome. I can do whatever I want. In my line of work, because this is my full-time business, I thought, how can I use those hours to best suit my business? So I spent them in the office doing client care. And sometimes I'm doing client care calls to share maybe a coupon we're allowed to send or a promotion. I didn't have any of those to tell right now and at this time of the industry. So what I did instead was reach out and say, I just wanted you to know the winter clearance was taking place and our new spring summer catalog is here. Here's a mystery hostess party link. I'll be doing a drawing on Friday for $50 in free product. If you want to shop, here's the link. Thank you for your support. I hope you're having a great day. That's it. And that resulted in 6 orders right away. Boom. From people
Wow.
who had not ordered recently because I took the time to do that. And how did I know who to call? Well, I have a kind of index cards for my clients. So I start working on the ones who haven't ordered in the last 6 months or that I haven't seen at a party. I have them in alphabetical order. So I just have a system where I keep working them whenever I have time to make those extra calls. So that's a way too, guys. You can turn it around when something maybe doesn't go as planned and use that to kind of boost some extra sales every month.
And it's such a great point because you did have those hours set aside already, right? So even if you wanted to go sit outside and do your client care and enjoy the day, you still can, right? Like you can still go outside and do your client care. But I also loved about that too is that when you're contacting these people and saying, "Hey, just wanted to check in or give these points of things that you're doing." But you remember everybody's busy, right? I hate that word. Oh, I hate that word. Everybody uses it. So overused. But let's say everybody's busy. You're the person reminding them, like, hey, if you need something, I'm here for you. Because I can't tell you, I have lots of products from different places that I use all the time. And until I see that person, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need this. I don't really think about it. Like, even though I know I need it, like, it's not my first reaction to like text them or call them because all of a sudden my kid comes in or my dog barks or whatever, like you get distracted. And so just as busy as we are, they are too. So you were just helping remind them like, hey, if you need something, I'm here for you.
We always have to remember this business is our priority and not theirs. And remember, my clients are either following me on Facebook or getting my email. So it's not like they're not hearing from me, but I have to laugh as I saw the orders come in from who they were coming from. I'm thinking, okay, they maybe haven't read an email lately, or they haven't checked the Facebook business page. So that little personal email prompted them to take action, go check out the link and do something, right? Um, and can I also say, I hate it when people do messaging that says, please help me earn a trip. Please help me reach my goal. Let's not do that anymore in this business. That doesn't feel good to anybody except maybe your mom and your sister are going to help you. Let's make it about serving them. So there was nothing in my message that was helping me. It was, hey, did you know this? And can I help by giving you some free products and entering you in this drawing? And of
Right.
course, I said thank you at the end of it because I say thank you at the end of all my messages. So
Yes.
let's do it that way, guys. Let's not be salesy and pushy and make it about ourselves. It's about them and serving them and how can we help them?
And I love that too, because it's something that I've gotten really good at too. When somebody responds, no, I automatically write them back and I'm like, thank you so much for responding. Because how many people in this world do not respond? How many people are that, they get a text and they don't even respond. So I'm actually grateful that they say no, because then at least I know where to go from here, right? Like I know exactly what's happening. And then like I use what you say, like, oh, okay, does that mean you don't need anything right now? Or does that mean you don't want me to contact you at all in the future, right? Like let's set that precedent if I hadn't already. Or if I know that we're once a quarter, I just say, okay, well, if you need recipes in the meantime, whatever. Um, but thanks for responding, right? Because when we're grateful, they feel that. Like you said, when you're asking to help and there's this desperation, that's what they feel. But when you're actually grateful for them and their them being your client and them responding to you, it's amazing how they feel appreciated.
Absolutely. And that kind of transitions us to talking about no and a no response. One of the things I firmly believe is it's not the no in this business that's going to kill us and the dreams of direct sales. It's a no response. So think about that as you're following up for parties, for example. So we're transitioning from orders to parties in this chat. But if you're calling someone to have a party and they don't respond, that really is the one that gets you because you don't know what it means. Did they not get the right message? Did you call the wrong number? What's going on, really, right? So I'd always, like you, rather have an answer, even if it is a no. And if it is a no, that follow-up question needs to be, is it a no never or no not right now? Oh, it's just not right now, Tammy. Okay, so then is it okay if I call you back in 2 months? I'll actually put a time frame on that so that I can just move them down on my follow-up log and know when to reach out best to serve them. And sometimes it could be like, nope, it's a no never. Okay, fine, great. Then I know how to take them off the follow-up list and move on and bless and release. But
Mhm.
you've got to ask a kind of a follow-up question so that you know where to take it going forward.
And every time somebody says no, not ever, right? When I get that response, like I said, I'm now grateful for it because I'm like, good, I don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste my time, whatever. But I always say to them, thank you for letting me know that. If you ever need Tastefully Simple or someone does, please don't hesitate to reach out. I appreciate your business. I always say that. I appreciate your support of my business, something along those lines, because really I do. If they wouldn't have placed that one order that one time, that made my business, right? Like every order helps your business. So even if they only order once, like you said, Tammy, they are still part of your journey, right? In this business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a people business, right? So you've got to remember that even if you don't get the response you want, they may come back to you later on down the road. So always treat them respectfully as you can. But again, we're trying to get a response if we can, even if it is a no. I'm sorry, guys. I know the no hurts, but it's okay. It does serve us.
So what do you do? Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit because I know you and I are probably good with this, but I know a lot of people like when they don't get a response, they might never write them again or they might not know where to go. So what are your steps normally when somebody doesn't respond?
Well, here's something funny statistic wise about follow up. Most people in our industry will only follow up once, but it often takes 5 to 7 attempts to get a response.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that crazy? So here's what I want to tell you. When I'm following up with people specifically about a party, I will try multiple different ways over multiple different weeks. So that means maybe a phone call, maybe a text, maybe a Facebook message, maybe a voicemail. Yes, I use the phone. And I'll spread it out over different days and different weeks until I try to get a response. Now, if I don't get a response to any of them, eventually, yeah, I'm going to drop them from my follow-up list. But I don't just stop at one try because what you realize is, like you mentioned earlier, you're with your kids or the dog comes in and you forget to respond to the text or respond to the voicemail. I'm also going to admit to you guys, I'm a big fan of using the phone. Why? Because most people don't do it now. And I think you can hear the tone and an intention in my voice versus in words on a text screen. So sometimes I'll try maybe a voicemail first and follow up with a text maybe a week later, or sometimes I flip it. But if they can hear me coming across saying that I'm checking in with them, I think they can realize it doesn't sound salesy, it doesn't sound pressureful. Oh, that's that nice girl. That sells tastefully simple, right? So don't be afraid to pick up the phone. I think that it sets you apart in this industry and it carries your personality through.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great point because you can hear where they're coming from too. I mean, because I've even had those calls, right? Where you call and they're like, no, I just ordered because it was my daughter's party or whatever. And we still end on a good note, right? Like, oh, well, I just appreciate your business and I'm so glad you told me, keep me in mind if you ever need anything. Or, some people just want to follow your Facebook and they don't want you to contact them, whatever it is. But when you talk to them, it's very easy to just, be okay with ending that conversation and it not feeling hurtful or against you or anything else that these thoughts that go through people's head when somebody says no, which is basically just, but that's not what I need right now.
Yeah, and maybe adopt the mindset of, okay, who's next? That's what I've had to learn. Okay, who's next? Move on from them, let it go, guys, and move on to the next person because there are plenty of people out there that need your services and products. And you've got to not take it personally, as hard as that is. The longer you're in this business, the better I think you get at it. But if you can think about it that way, okay, who's next? And I have to laugh. I've grown up doing this business with my kids, right? So from the time before I was even having children, my kids have been listening to these conversations from when I was pregnant all the way to last week. And at one point, I remember my youngest saying to me, Mommy, doesn't it hurt your feelings when they say no? Because she's here, right? In the office as I'm working. And I said, Oh, no, honey, Mommy would rather hear that no than not hear anything at all. And she just sees me move on. And I hope that what I'm modeling for her is that it's okay to hear no. It's okay that we can get a little bit of rejection in our lives and still move forward, right?
Right. Right. And it's so interesting because I always tell people that about the no too. It's like one time I had asked somebody, like, would you have a party? And she's like, oh gosh, I can't. And I was like, oh, okay. Is that like not right now or, not ever? And she was like, oh no, I just can't do it this weekend. I was like, I never said this week, but like people are in their own mind and we don't know what's going on. And they might have just gotten a phone call about something else going on this weekend. And they're like, I can't do anything else this weekend. So we ended up setting it for like 2 weeks later. But if
Yeah,
I wouldn't have asked that follow-up question and I would have taken that no at face value, I wouldn't have had a party 2 weeks later. And so I
absolutely.
I think it's the that's where also the conversation can help versus the text message because it is easy to follow up with that question really quick, right? Um,
Yes.
yeah, I just think it's so interesting how people just stop right when they hear no instead of, and I do think you're right. You're modeling for your kids that no doesn't, you actually don't know what no means until you ask the clarifying question, right? Like
Absolutely.
I didn't know what that no meant until I said, "Oh, is that like no, not ever?" And she's like, "No, just not this weekend." And I was like, "Okay." Right? Like so different than what was initially going through my head when she said.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. So that's really great. I love how it's like who's next too, because we know another stat. I was actually just talking with someone on my team who was like, Well, I only have 3 yeses to this open house I'm having. And I'm like, Oh, okay, how many people have you asked? And she's like 30. And I'm like, okay, so you're right on par with stat. And she was
Yep.
like, What? I'm like, on average, for every 10 people you ask, one will say yes, and the other ones will either not respond or say no. And it was interesting to watch her think that through because I was like, you're doing you're at what you've asked. That's about where you should be. And so I do think, getting used to that in our industry is so important. And like you said, in the beginning, it's very hard. And the longer you do it, the more it just, like you said, it just rolls off your back and you're like on to the next. But that's a hard thing to get through. How have you helped? Like, how do you suggest helping people in those earlier times when the no is sinking in a little bit more than it should?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, there's nothing for experience, right, to help you build a stronger skin about it and kind of feel more at peace with that answer. Um, if it makes you feel better, one of the strategies that I've heard before is going for 100 no's, having a list of, a piece of paper with 100 lines and you just writing no after no after their names in on those lists, right? So feel free to do that if that helps incentivize you and give yourself a reward once you make it to 10, right? Like
Yeah.
even if you break up your follow-up or your attempts to reach people. So I'm only going to call 10 people tonight and that's it. I just have to do it one night this week and then have that slip there. And then whatever sort of reward will make you feel better, just know that once you've made your 10 calls, you're done for the night and you did your part. And the more that you keep doing it, the easier it will be for sure. I mean, it just will. That's just the way it is. I will also encourage, like you're talking about your team member having an open house. I love the idea of every consultant having their own open house and reaching out to their friends and family and extended friends and family to help get their businesses going. I think that the wider that pool is, the more it sets you up for success. So maybe what we're doing as a disservice to ourselves when we get started is keeping that circle of invite so small, right?
Mhm.
And so it's hard to get a big number when you're just dealing with maybe 30 people. But if you can sit down and maybe make cast a wider net, you're going to have more people to pull from to ask to have a party for you or to ask to purchase going forward. So I'm not sure that directly answers your question, but that's where my brain is going as you started to talk about that.
No, I mean, I think it was good points because one is practice, right? Like I hate to say the age-old verbiage of practice makes perfect, but it does. I mean, the more you practice, the easier everything gets. So the more you that 100 no's, that's basically what it is. Like, let's keep getting no said so that you can realize you can keep going and yeses come with no's, right? Like the yeses come
Sure.
with the no's.
For sure.
Um, I also, love that because I think that that's what that does. That stat of 1 out of 10 is it shows you how wide your net has to be, right? Like you do have to think outside the box and ask sometimes just saying like, hey, bring a friend and I'll give you a special whatever, right? Like something small or whatever, because that's really what you want, right? People you don't know to come. So like reach out to other people. There's so many different ways to expand that net. And I think sometimes that's it too, like thinking outside the box of ways that you can do that as well.
And if you're someone who's comfortable doing in-person events and vendor events, I'll admit to you guys that when I started doing this business, I had never tried a product. I had never been to a tasting party. And I don't have any family around here. So I did every single small craft show, vendor show, church yard sale, anything that I could get my hands on to start meeting new people because I realized if this was going to be successful, I had to really cast that wide net, like I mentioned, and expand that customer base. The only way you're going to do that, guys, is putting yourself in situations where you're going to meet people, right?
Right.
So, if you're comfortable doing that, that's a great way to get out there. Look for events in your community where your name and face can be out there, even if it's just with a small product display, so you can start meeting customers. I think you hear it too, and I hear it all the time. Oh, I didn't know your company was still around, or oh, it's been so long since I've seen somebody from your company, which tells me that there's plenty of room for all of us out here. There's plenty
Yeah.
of business to go around and that people are looking for us, but you got to put your name and face out there, whether it's online or out in the public at events.
Right. And I think that's so true. I mean, I say it all the time. I'm like, until you walk into your local grocery store and every single person is buying from you or your local boutique or Walmart or whatever, then you still have business to be had. Right. And I think it's so easy to say, um, no, I've reached out to everybody, right? We hear that a lot with people,
Yes.
right? Like I've reached out to everybody. There's nobody left for me to talk to. And I really think what you're saying is so true is like you have to keep thinking differently. You have to think outside the box. Where are other ways to meet people? How are there other ways to get different people there? Because I'm telling you, you guys, some of my greatest friends now are people I met at events or people I met at parties or just somebody. And the first time I put out an email, funny enough, Tammy, I sent out an email when I started this business, right? To everybody in my email because that's how we communicated, right? Very pre-text. I'm old. No, I'm kidding. But I sent that email out, right? And I was like, the people who responded back were not the people that I thought would respond back. And so I just want to also let, people know that like some of the people you think, like you said, your mom and your sister and those people, you think they're going to be the ones, but then sometimes there's these other people that just support you. So I think you do have to cast that wide net because there are a lot of people who do want to help you get your business started or are excited about your product or whatever. But if you're not letting them know you're in business, they can't help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, serving them the way they want to be served, right? So if you
Right.
can focus on them, how they want to be communicated with, how they want to keep in touch, you've got a lot of things going for you out of the gate. So absolutely, I'm with you on that.
I love it. I love it. So, let me ask, is there anything else that you would give, our listeners? Is there something we haven't touched on that you think is really important that they should know?
I think everybody needs a system, whether it's a system that I'm teaching or a system that somebody else is teaching, a system for follow up so that you can do it consistently and make it part of your business, a small part of your business, maybe on a weekly basis. Whether that's a computer system or a pen and paper system, go find somebody that you can learn a system from for follow up so that you start doing it consistently. Because I think what happens is most people, it's so funny. I ask most consultants if they do it and they say, I don't know where to start. I don't make it a priority, but every single one of them knows that if they do it, their sales will increase. Why aren't they doing it? They don't know what to do. So go find or learn from someone who's teaching some sort of system so that you can make it a part of your consistent business and start building stronger relationships with your clients. So mine is a pen and paper system. It works really well for me and it's not overwhelming. I know exactly what to do every week and I stay on top of it and it's seamless now. It's just habit now. But that's what we need to get people to is implementing it into your business. Follow up for orders, follow ups for parties. You got to be doing both to move forward.
That's so true. And honestly, I love that because whatever system, you can even make your own. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the great part. You can go find somebody who has one, or you can make, I mean, that's what I ended up doing when we had that computer program and then we stopped. I had gotten rid of all my paper, right? Because we had gone digital. And so I just made my own digital system. I was like, well, here we go. This is what I'm going to do. So just doing anything. And when people get overwhelmed too, I always say, start where you're at. You don't have to go back 6 years and start there. Start where you're at and move forward. You can still, when you see other people or you think of someone, you can put them in that system, but don't overwhelm yourself. Just start right now. Start today. You don't have to make this bigger than it is. Just start, right?
Let's start. Absolutely. Yep, I agree with that.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So I'm so glad you came on and shared so many of these things. But, I always love to ask if there's like one piece of advice you would give my listener. What would that be?
You guys ready? You have a pen and a paper? You're not stuck unless you stop. So I'll say it again. You're not stuck unless you stop. So don't stop, everybody. You can keep going one day at a time.
And that's such a good point because I know that's kind of what you said right when we started talking too, right? Like it's the lack of response or the no, and then people just stop.
Mhm.
It's the follow through on your business. So the follow through with your client care, the follow through with your parties, the follow through with everything is really where it's at.
Yeah,
So I love that.
absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it very much.
Oh, of course, anytime. And all right, to my listeners, you guys know I love to, give you something to come to the group. So I would love for you to come to the group. I will tag Tammy in the post. Tell us what you're taking away from this, or if there's something you want from it. If you're looking for a system or you have a system that you want to share, please pop on and share that because I think so many of us learn by our responses and our growth together. So I can't wait to see you in the Facebook group. Tammy will be there. Thank you, Tammy, so much for coming on. I appreciate you. And you guys, until next week, when Adrienne talks, realize the power is within you. Do you want your life to be more flexible? Do you wish you had a house on the beach? Do you want to travel more? Do you yearn for financial stability? Would you love to be your own boss? We all have a different dream life. It is literally so different for everyone. I help each person individually figure out what they really want. And then we work on your mindset and actions to start creating the life you've always wanted. So if you're interested, go to yoadriennetalks.com, click on coaching, and check out all my different coaching programs so that you can start having the life that you deserve.